it's Marley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, October 22nd. So the moon is going to be in Taurus all day. We get another day to kind of slow our roll, to kind of stop and smell the roses, to focus on our own self-love routine and recognize where it is, of course, that we need to provide a little bit more stability in our mental health, in our emotions, and in our physical realms. The moon will be going void, of course, around 5:30 p.m., again, Atlantic Standard Time, but will not be entering into Gemini until early tomorrow morning. So we are going to have the bulk of the day in this Tauran energy, which should help us with a perfect opportunity to, again, find a new grounding point. We also have to consider that this is the very last day of Libra season. And of course, Libra season is a sister sign to Tauran energy, as they both have Venus as their ruler. Anytime that we are wrapping up some life lessons in a particular energy, we always feel the push. We always feel the pressure. We always feel the intensity building to that crisis degree. Of course, we are trying to wrap up the lessons that Libra season was trying to teach us, and many of those lessons have still not been integrated. We came into Libra season focused on balance, on stability, on fairness, on love, peace, and harmony. But of course, we had to kind of realize where those particular topics and themes were not very stable in our lives. We had to explore the extreme parts of those particular energies in order to find where it is that we needed to create a better, solid, stable grounding point for us to create a space where those topics and themes could definitely manifest and definitely root into our lives. So we have a lot of moon aspects taking place here today. We do still kind of have to recognize that we are wrapping up the topics and themes that kind of got illuminated to us underneath the full moon. We are coming out of the full moon energy. It is going to be a little bit lower on physical energy than what many of us would prefer. But at the same time, this is an emotional boot camp that we are in, kind of priming us up to, of course, Scorpio season, where the real transformation takes place. 8 aspects taking place today. 7 of them involve the moon, and the only one that does not involve the moon is what we get the day started off with, which I'm going to tell you is going to be a little bit of a power struggle. We have Mars, who is in Libra, squaring Pluto, who is now direct in Capricorn. This is a boss up. This is a call. This is a trigger. This is an urgency. This is an intensity to boss up and take our power back, to take action and make a major move. Many of us have been sitting back thinking about all the moves that we wanted to make, especially when all the planets were direct and giving us the green light to go ahead and do so. Mars, of course, is the god of war, wanting to take physical action and exert that energy here in the physical realm to balance the scales. Of course, in Libra, that's the whole purpose, is to find balance once again, to find peace once again, to do what is right, to fight for what is fair, to really seek actions that are going to create more love, peace, and harmony in each of our lives. Pluto, of course, the god of the underworld, has been illuminating for us for the past 5 months all the fears, the doubts, the insecurities that we've been having and trying to make major moves in our life. And now that Pluto is direct, we're really not messing around. We had that full moon in Aries really take us to a boiling point where we had to take in action without kind of the regard of the consequences in order to know where we stand in life, in other people's lives, in our own lives, of course, releasing all of that pent up anger, aggression, passion, just flat out boiling energy in order for us to have a clean slate, to have a space to actually start manifesting the things that we've realized that we have to take action on. We can't sit back and let life happen to us. We have to take life by the horns and make life happen for us. And Mars squaring Pluto right now is likely going to fester up some anger, some frustration. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. Right now, these particular energies are acting as the catalyst that we need in order to be inspired, motivated, in order to make a serious and dramatic change. The moon in Taurus is going to bump into Mercury, and this is going to give us a beautiful opportunity to express ourselves with a little bit more confidence, a little bit more clarity, because of course, Mercury is waking up from its retrograde slumber, and we're starting to put the pieces together in a much more bright, clear picture than what it is that we've been seeing for the past 3 weeks. We are going to have a beautiful opportunity to heal through speaking about some of the things that we've been holding within ourselves, because the moon is going to go ahead and make a beautiful aspect with Neptune. Neptune, of course, is retrograde in Pisces, and this is a beautiful healing energy as long as we sit in the energy and we do not try to escape the energy. Neptune and Pisces, of course, the escape artists of the zodiac, being so overwhelmed with all the subtle energies of the cosmos that sometimes we get overwhelmed. We don't even know how to depict what it is that we're feeling, what it is that other people are feeling, what it is that our intuition, our higher self is calling us to do. And so we could check out. But I think at this particular point, we're bold enough, we're brave enough, we're courageous enough to stand in the uncomfortability of our thoughts and of our emotions to actually see where healing can happen. We are doing this particular amount of healing by recognizing intuitively what feels right, what does not feel right, what we are being called to do, what it is that we're being called away from. Again, with the moon in Taurus, we are thinking about what currently is and what currently feels good in this moment. Anything that does not feel good, we're using as a roadmap in order to heal. And this particular energy is going to help us do that. Things might get a little bit extreme midday though, because the moon in Taurus squares Jupiter. Jupiter, of course, really wants us to grow, wants us to expand our minds, expand our vision, expand our dreams, expand our trust in the universe to actually see what is possible. But here's the thing, the moon in Taurus, again, doesn't want to think about the future, just wants to sit in this present moment. And when we think about all the things that we want to change, it can become overwhelming. It can become too much. It can become too extra. Our emotions, especially being attached and fixated to the old cycles, the old dreams, the old ideas that we're trying very hard to detach from, the attachments could become that more intense. Again, things get a little bit overwhelming. Jupiter puts a magnifying glass on whatever emotional state we're currently in, and right now we're just grasping at straws to stick with what it is that we know, because what it is that we don't know seems a whole hell of a lot scarier right now than the current hell in which we're currently living in. The moon goes ahead and trines Pluto, and this is going to give us a boost, because a trine is a beautiful energy, and of course Pluto wants nothing more than for us to stand in our uncomfortability, in our pain, in our trauma, in all of the negative emotions, the negative narratives, and use that as fuel to our inner fire to actually make a change. Pluto is the great transformer. He is direct. He is ready and willing to back us in making some major moves in our lives. And with the moon in Taurus, again, who would rather just stick to what is old, tried, tested, and true, we have to understand that the rut that we're living in is becoming so uncomfortable that even Tauran energy, a fixed energy that would rather be dragged than go with the flow, is ready to make some major changes, some major transformations as well. It starts off in our mind. We take it down into our heart space. When those two agree, we bring it into reality by taking action or speaking it to existence. We are going to feel a little bit of friction though, because the moon in Taurus goes ahead and makes a not so nice aspect with Chiron, the wounded healer. And again, the wounded healer is retrograde in Aries, trying to illuminate for us where it is we've gotten too attached to our past pain and trauma stories. That has become part of our identity, and many of us do not know who it is we would be without those particular storylines, keeping us in a victimhood type of mentality. The moon in Taurus bumping into Chiron at this particular time really doesn't feel so good. The moon in Taurus wants to stay stable, wants to stay grounded, wants to focus on, what is, and Chiron has a tendency to take us back, to hash things out, to sit in this present moment and realize where it is that we've let our past wounds dictate our future. And that's just not something that the moon in Taurus really wants to sit in right now. So we are going to feel a little bit of a trigger and then a little bit of a scramble inside of us in order to distract ourselves, likely through physical tasks and chores, in order to totally ignore the kind of emotions that are coming up that we're just not mentally or emotionally prepared to deal with at this particular time. We're going to get a little bit of a tough love life lesson here because the moon is going to go ahead and bump into Mars. So Mars is in Libra, actively taking physical actions in our life to exert our energy in a way that we are kind of using the negative emotions, the uncomfortability, the pain, the trauma, the frustration, the anger, the irritability to make a move, to make things right, to find stable ground, to balance things out, to fight for what is fair, especially in reconciling some of our relationships. Now, the moon in Taurus, again, would rather avoid all this, just wants to stay in its little safety nest, doesn't really want to explore much action, much emotion at this time, doesn't even want to think about moving out of its little comfort zone. But we're likely going to have an external trigger coming from a disruption in our day, coming from another person that we deem to be of value and worth in our lives. That's totally going to put us in a position to have to bust out of our comfy little zones and actually stand up, boss up, be brave, be bold, be courageous, not only in speaking our truth, but to take an action, make a move that is going to show people that we are not willing to back down. And as uncomfortable as it may be, to stand in this place that we would rather not be standing in feels a whole hell of a lot better than sitting in the corner and letting other people dictate our lives. The moon is going to wrap up the day by bumping into Mercury again, and this isn't the best aspect. It's definitely a more negative aspect than the earlier aspect that took place in the day, but this particular aspect is really putting us in a vice grip, if you will. So we're already standing in a position due to an outside trigger, an outside influence that is making us hold the line and stand our ground. And now Mercury is coming into play, pressurizing us not to bite our tongue anymore, to be vocal about why we're standing our ground, to express our thoughts, our feelings, our ideas, our whole perception of why it is that we feel the need to stand our ground, to hold the line, to no longer feel like we're backed into a corner. And this is profound because the moon in Taurus does not really want to change. Again, it's a fixed sign, a fixed earth sign. It wants everything to stay the same, even if it's uncomfortable. But we've been put in some really tough positions as of late. And the one thing that Tauran energy will not tolerate is anyone forcing anything upon them that does not feel good in their heart or in their soul. So we're standing our ground, we're being bold, we're being brave, we're being courageous, and now Mercury comes around in order for us to actually speak up, to be heard, to have our voice acknowledged and validated from whoever it is that is trying to push us back into the corner and make us submissive. Again, this is the last day of Libra season, which means that we are going to be feeling the topics and themes to an extreme point of view, which means that balance might not be had, fairness might not be had, justice might not be had, love, peace, harmony might not be had. But we are standing in the uncomfortability of these extremes in order to fight for all these topics and themes to rebalance themselves, to create a space where we are fighting for these things to become part of our daily lives. And again, we are kind of wrapping up the day on this very solid note of standing our ground, preparing for a very deep, very transformative time when the sun enters into Scorpio.